When developing a new business, many entrepreneurs make a few common mistakes that can be avoided by having the right knowledge. Many startups try to replicate the same structure as a big and well-established business. The problem with this is that big companies have lots of resources and a well-established customer base. They know what works and what doesn't for their own particular product. But for a startup, things are a little different. Many startups don't have the experience and the data to know what will work, and should be ready to change or modify the plan based on the response of the market. It's like driving a Jeep off-road in a very rough terrain. Decisions need to be made based on immediate feedback in order not to crash. In order to be successful, the new startup needs a business model that is both profitable and sustainable. The new company needs to find a way to constantly and systematically acquire new customers and find a way to turn their desires into a constant stream of revenue. In order to start developing a good business model, we must understand two basic principles: what the customer wants and how to sell it to them. One of the most effective ways to do this is to test your theory in a real-life scenario. Take the story of the company Zappos. It started with a simple hypothesis that people will be willing to buy their shoes online. So to test this idea, the company took photographs of shoes in shoe stores and used those pictures in a fake online shoe store. When people actually tried to buy the shoes online, Zappos saw that their business plan worked without having to spend much of their time and resources, and their hypothesis was validated by their customers. Zappos, the company, was bought by Amazon for $1.2 billion in 2009, and according to Forbes, the company generates over $2 billion a year in revenue. One of the biggest mistakes many startups make is working on isolation for a long period of time to complete their product. This can be a huge problem because in order to make a sustainable business model, we must quickly find out whether there's a demand for the product we're creating. Otherwise, we might be spending time and resources to build a product that no one will be interested in. The quickest and easiest way to get real-world feedback is to create what is called an MVP, or minimal viable product. This MVP should be simple and should contain only what is needed to give the customer a realistic expectation of what the product should do. Sort of a prototype of your product, with just enough to draw useful information and feedback from your customers. Here, you can validate two things: that your product actually brings value to people, but also that your product will be found by a potential larger market. Take Dropbox, for example. They knew that developing their idea will take a lot of time and resources, so they created a video presenting their idea and a sign-up sheet for the product waiting list. Within one night, over 75,000 people signed up to their waiting list. With this information, they could confidently start developing their actual product. In order to build a great product, you can adapt the BML cycle, which stands for Build, Measure, and Learn. So for example, you want to create a product, so you launch a beta trial, a prototype of the product. Then you take the product to the market and gather customer feedback, like how many people click on the purchase button on your fake shoe store. By talking to your customers, you can get a better understanding of your data and the impression that your product makes on them. Now, by launching this prototype or beta trial does not mean that you won't be making any money. You can actually sell this beta trial for a reduced price until you learn enough information to go into the next step, which is optimization. This brings you back to the beginning of the cycle. You build an optimized version of your product, and you'll be able to raise the price on the new and improved product. The more loops you make on the BML cycle, the more likely you'll be able to build a great product and a good business model. Now, when improving your product, your website, your marketing, or even your pricing, it's always good to test whether the changes are actually effective. A business's job is to make more sales and increase revenue, so changes that do not do either of these are a waste of resources, no matter what founders or developers think. A new business needs to be resourceful and limit their waste. A good way to test whether something works or not is through split testing. For example, if you want to know whether a new sales page will convert better than your old one, you can randomly send half of your traffic to your old sales page and half of your traffic to your new page, and then see which one converts better. Now, among entrepreneurs, we have this mentality that to build a successful business, we have to fight through challenges and hardships. That as entrepreneurs, we need a lot of perseverance and an unshakable will. Which can be true, but this way of thinking can also lead to startups to ignore feedback and keep hard selling a product that the market does not want. To avoid being part of this living dead of mindless zombies selling the wrong product, you should keep asking yourself, how can I change my product to fit what the market wants? You might be passionate about your product, but if the market does not want it, figure out how to improve it or scratch it altogether. A good example of this is Groupon. They started as an activism and fundraising platform, but was later developed as the daily deals platform we know today, based on the market's feedback. A fundamental part of business is growth. There are 3 types of growth strategies that we can use to achieve business expansion. Number 1, retaining customers. Here, instead of investing in more marketing and developing more traffic, we focus on maximizing revenues from existing customers. We do this by encouraging customers to use the product more often, offering new features, or encouraging the purchase of new products within the company. Number 2, the viral strategy. This is where you get current customers to do the marketing for you. This is where awareness of the product spreads among your market through word of mouth. A great example of this is the iPhone. Whenever someone sent an email from their iPhone, Apple had a default message at the bottom of the email that said, "Sent with my iPhone." Or even in the early days of Facebook, whenever you would post from your iPhone, there was a little message that said, "Via iPhone." Organic social media can be considered viral marketing because it is shared by your own audience to people who might also be interested in what you have to offer. Number 3. Good old paid advertising. This is where we use things like social media ads, paid online ads, or any other form of paid advertising. Of course, this is only sustainable if the startup has an advertising budget and their cost per acquisition is lower than the customer lifetime value. In general, you can use all 3 strategies for growth at the same time, but author Ries recommends at first to focus on one that brings the fastest and most effective results. When growing a business, it is important to keep track and analyze your metrics. So instead of looking at the general revenue growth or just the user base growth, looking at more specific metrics can really influence the way you move forward. For example, by looking how new customers behave compared to old customers can bring a better understanding of what's working and what's not. Developing a startup or a new business is no easy task, but learning a few key ideas can make your life much easier. So let's go over the main ideas of this video again. Number 1, find a sustainable business model. Learn what customers want and how to sell it to them. Number 2, validate your business plan with real-life feedback. Number 3, develop an MVP, a minimal viable product. Number 4, build, measure, and learn, the BML cycle. Number 5, test effectiveness and avoid waste. Number 6, don't be part of the living dead. Give the market what it wants. Number 7, use one strategy for growth at first. Number 8, define your key metrics and keep track of them. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.
Please subscribe to my channel if you have not done it yet, and don't forget to click the notification button. I hope you guys learned and enjoyed this video. Thank you, and have a great day.